friends, Tom Chapin here with a banjo, and tonight is going to be about my banjos. I didn't realize how many I had and the stories about them, so I thought I'd do what we did for my guitars a few months back, and just tell you about how I got them and what happened. And first time I heard a banjo it was summer of '58, I think. I just turned, 13. Steve was 12, and Abigail and Harry was 15, and we heard a recording that my aunt brought to our place in Jersey called "The Weavers at Carnegie Hall," and it opened up with Pete Seeger going, and bugle call of Garland Corey, and the crowd goes crazy. It was 1955. The Weavers, Pete Seeger, Ronnie Gilbert, Lee Hayes, Fred Hellerman, had been blacklisted for the previous 8 or 10 years because of doing concerts and fundraisers for unions and for left-wing organizations. And HUAC decided they were commies and they couldn't be playing but they'd had big hit records. Now, I knew nothing about all this. Harry didn't either. Steve didn't either. But somebody recorded that concert, and we listened to it all summer long. By the end of the summer, Harry said, we could do that. And we did. Harry got a 5-string banjo. And in fact, it's right over here. He got a 5-string banjo because he wanted a Pete Seeger banjo, and he started talking about it. I got a guitar, and my grandma, my dad's mother, my dad, the jazz drummer, his mother was Abigail Forbes Chapin, and she said, I think I have a banjo in my basement, because my brother Harry Forbes, way back in 1905 or something, bought a banjo. Let me see if I have it. And you know what? She did. Here it is. It says inside, Joseph Ricketts, JOS.RICKETTS, Philadelphia. And Harry got it fixed up, and I just had it refixed up 40 years later. And this is the old Joseph Ricketts banjo. And here's a song that I told the same story to Cy Khan one day, and he said, let's write that story. I did not learn this music at my grandma's knee, but from some old musicians I never got to see. And I know them by their records, their voices, and their songs. I'm blessed to be with you tonight, to pass the music on. For the good times and the high times, through the suffering and pain, it's the song of generations singing in my veins. I still hear that old time music of good friends now long gone. I am here tonight to pass the music on. Well, you know I'm not traditional, and I've never claimed to be, but I come from a tradition that others made for me. They're still alive inside my heart, although they're now long gone. I like to think they trusted me to pass the music on. For the good times and the high times, through the suffering and pain, it's the song of generations singing in my veins. I still hear that old time music of good friends now long gone. I am here tonight to pass the music on. And most of the songs I got tonight, I must admit I wrote. Others I've learned heart to heart instead of note by note. And now as I grow you new folk come along, I'll help you out the best I can to pass the music on. Yeah. I've sung these songs with some old friends I never will forget, and I've sung them with an audience of folks I've hardly met. So here we are together to celebrate the song. We'll sing and play our part tonight and pass the music on, for the good times and the high times, through the suffering and pain. It's the song generations singing in my veins. I still hear that old time music, the good friends now long gone. I am here tonight to pass the music on. I am here tonight to pass the music on. We are here tonight to hear me pass with every one of these banjos the music on. Joseph Ricketts, 15 years ago, 118 years ago, this was made. Can you believe it? Wow. Cool banjo. Now, we played as the Chapin Brothers for a long time, and in fact, here's a picture of us a few years. This is at the Jongleur. Let me see if I can get this without any things. The Jongleur in, let's see, that's Harry in the middle of the banjo, my dad over there with the drums, Steve in the middle of the three of us, the Chapin trio, and me playing guitar, Steve on electric bass. That's at the Jongleur down in Jacksonville, Florida, a long gone club. We were there for a week, drove on down there. And that banjo has sat, the banjo right there, that Harry's playing, it's a long neck. He always wanted a long neck banjo because we were inspired by Pete Seeger. And so Harry eventually bought a Vega Pete Seeger special. Actually, it's a Alex Hasselev special because the fifth string is actually one fret up and the Limelighters wanted that extra fret. I guess I should tell you the story. Well, I'll wait and tell you the story about Pete Seeger and the long neck banjo first, but I wanted to show this. So this is sat in Jen, Harry's daughter's closet, along with a 12-string guitar of Harry's for 40 years, and they downsized and they sold their place, and they said, "Tom, I got this banjo, you want it?" I said, "Sure," and I took it up to Main Street Music in Beacon, and R.J. Storm renovated this guy. It's a wonderful old Vega banjo, and now, when I started as a solo performer after the Chapin Brothers, I used to play 12-string and 6-string, and because I had all these ballads and stuff. And then in 1988, I started doing some family music, and I did my first family recording, Family Tree, and I realized the 12-string didn't do great. Wasn't that big a difference from the 6-string, but a banjo. And so I used to pull out the banjo and ask what it was, and these kids were, "It's a banjo. Where'd it come from?" And instead of explaining it again, I decided to write a tune that said exactly what I was going to say. My banjo is a drum I strum, drum I strum, drum I strum. Banjo is a drum I strum, my B-A-N-J-O. thumb and a thumb and a thumb. 2 fingers and a thumb to strum my banjo. Oh, Africa's where it comes from, it comes from, it comes from. Africa's where it comes from, my banjo. European harmonies and songs of many lands. The rhythms of West Africa are right here in my hands. Working riverboat, bluegrass, and minstrel show. Their melodies are living in this banjo. Like this one. Buffalo Gals. Cripple Creek. And here is Darlin' Corey, the Pete Seeger version. That bugle call, right? Pretty Polly. My banjo is a drum I strum, drum I strum, drum I strum. Africa's where it comes from. I use 2 fingers and a thumb, 2 fingers and a thumb to strum my banjo. This is a great banjo, really cool. Harry used to take lessons actually with Roger Sprung. Roger Sprung was one of the original guys who, wonderful player. He used to frequent the sing-alongs in Washington Square right at the beginning, and I ran into him years later, maybe 6 years ago, and I said, you know, my brother Harry took lessons from you. And he said, he did? He says, well, I got pictures of everybody took lessons, so let me look. And I got it, and I gave him my email, and a few weeks later, I got this email from Roger. Said, you were right, here he is. And the thing about that, with Harry would take the lessons from Roger, and then come home and play it and work on it. And a week later, I'd play it back to Harry. When he wasn't playing the banjo, I'd pick it up and play it, which really pissed him off. Younger brother stuff. I think something like this is. I had to learn some stuff like this. I love bluegrass, but the frailing thing is what moved me more. And when you're playing solo, without all those backbeats and all the stuff with the guitars and mandolin and fiddle and stuff, it seems like you can do better this way. And so in '88, I got together with John Forster and did my first family recording and Family Tree. And the first song we wrote was before the days of Jello lived a prehistoric fellow who loved a maid and courted her beneath the banyan tree. And they had lots of children, their children all had children. They kept on having children until one of them had me. We're a family and we're a tree. Our roots go deep down in history. From my great-great-granddaddy reaching up to me, we're a green and growing family tree. Well, my grandpa came from Russia, my grandma came from Prussia. They met in Nova Scotia, had my dad in Tennessee. Then they moved to Yokohama, where daddy met my mama. Her dad's from Alabama and her mom's part Cherokee. We're a family and we're a tree. Our roots go deep down in history. From my great-great-granddaddy reaching up to me, we're a green and growing family tree. Well, one fine day I may go to Tierra del Fuego. Perhaps I'll meet my wife there. We'll move to Timbuktu, and our kid will be bilingual. And though she may stay single, she could of course commingle with the king of Kathmandu. 'Cause we're a family and we're a tree. Our roots go deep down in history. From my great-great-granddaddy reaching up to me, we're a green and growing family tree. Well, the folks in Madagascar aren't the same as in Alaska. They got different moods, different foods, and different colored skin. You may have a different name, but underneath we're much the same. You're probably my cousin, and the whole world is our kin. 'Cause we're a family and we're a tree. Our roots go deep down in history. From my great-great-grandmother reaching up to me, we're a green and growing family tree. We're a green and growing family. Yes, we are. Now, when I started recording these songs, one of the people we got playing was the ultimate banjo player, Eric Weisberg, because he played so many different instruments. He was a great hero of mine, and he would come and play whatever we needed: banjo, mandolin, fiddle on Family Tree, and John Forster and I wrote this song. His boy Will was that point was in school, in grammar school, and he said he's having trouble with one kid who they he was a really good friend, and all of a sudden was not a friend, and then he was a friend again, and he wasn't a friend. So he wrote this. We started writing this song, and I worked out a banjo part for it, and then as you see, excuse me, and when we started playing it, excuse me, in the studio, Eric pulled out his 3 fingers and started playing banjo with me. And so on the track, sorry, fighting this little cold that the world has right now. On the track, he's playing 3 finger style, and I'm playing the frail stuff, and it was just so cool. It's called "Hi, Hi, I Love You." I got a buddy who can make you feel so cruddy, 'cause you never know where you stand. If you're lucky, he'll hug you. He's just as apt to slug you. It's a friendship built on sand. He'll be friendly in the morning, then without a word of warning, he'll become your mortal foe. Well, I find it so confusing. It's a game I think I'm losing. What's the problem? I don't know. Hi, hi, I love you, bye, bye, I hate you every day. It's a different story. Let's play turns into M's Gray. It's like I never know where I stand. When we're playing here together, he's as fickle as the weather. He's a sunny day, and then they go suddenly kerblooey, and I said, "What did I do?" He says, "You're doing it again." He says, "I want to be alone," and so I go off on my own, and then he'll launch a sneak attack, and I start to get the feeling that it's possible I'm dealing with a full-blown maniac. Hi, hi, I love you, bye, bye, I hate you, yes, yes, no, no, stay, stay, go, go. Let's dance turns into fat chance, because I never know where I stand. When he knocks on my door, will it be Jekyll or Hyde, Mr. Rogers or Bonnie and Clyde? Was it something I said? Was it something I did that made Winnie the Pooh turn into Billy the Skid? Billy the Kid. Mama says it's him. It isn't you, it's him. But it's hard to keep my cool when you're living in the middle of a friendship that's a riddle. Every day is April Fool, and I must be a dummy, 'cause I let him treat me crummy and keep coming back for more. Well, I've had about enough. I'm fed up with this stuff. Tell me, what do I need this for? Hi, hi, I love you, bye, bye, I hate you every day. It's the same old story. Best friends turn into dead ends, because I never know where I stand. Hi, hi, I love you, bye, bye, I hate you, yes, yes, no, no, stay, stay, go, go. I'm gone, I'm sorry, I'm gone, it's time to move on, because I never know where I stand. And I wanna know where I stand. Imagine Eric just flying. And imagine me knowing the song better. Fun. Wow. And of course, there's a here's a tune switching from the kids' side. This is a song I actually wrote with Cy Khan, this next one, and I had 3 verses and didn't quite know what to do with it. And Cy comes to New York every year and a half to visit his sister, and he spends a little time with me every day and a half or so. So I gave him this, and he came up with some really great verses later on. And it wasn't a banjo tune initially; it was a guitar tune. But then I realized if you played. 'Twas in the year of plenty, I was first out on my own. No one to look after me, no money, car, or phone. I took a leap out in the deep, head first on the run. Thick as a brick, I could take a lick. Once when I was young, I met you in the club downtown. Do you remember when? Every night was a red light, every vagabond a friend. I must have sounded pretty lame as I tripped over my tongue, but maybe you were awkward too, once when I was young. In the half-light of the street lamp, your beauty shone like day. When you took me to your room, I did not turn my eyes away. You put your lips against my lips, tongue against my tongue. I thought my heart would blow apart, once when I was young. Sometimes I dream in silver, sometimes I dream in gold. Sometimes I dream of you, my love, to keep me from the cold. Then you got me crazy, frantic when you finally turned away. I couldn't sleep at all at night, I stumbled through the day. I was lost, tossed, double-crossed, stranded, I was stung. Almost died of wounded pride, once when I was young. Sometimes I dream in amber, sometimes I dream in jade. Sometimes I dream of you, my love, and the promises we made. But promises are broken and yours was first to go. You married in the winter time, my heart froze hard as snow. Your husband never challenged me about what he must have heard. I worked beside him 20 years, he never said a word. I see you in the club tonight, we nod just like old friends. I look down at your wedding band to break my heart again. You lift your eyes, stare at me, I see the ring is gone. I follow you into the night, like once when we were young. Sometimes my dreams are black and white, sometimes they're ruby red. Tonight I dream of you, my love, beside me in this bed. Once when I was young. Put this guy away and grab this guy. Another long neck. I have 3 wonderful long neck banjos. This is the one that Bruce Taylor made for me. Bruce Taylor made the 12 strings for Pete Seeger in his later years. He was in the Walkabout Clearwater Chorus, and a great friend of all of the folks around the Clearwater. Good player, and it turned out to be a wonderful luthier, sort of self-made. And he copied for himself. He copied a banjo that he got his hand on Pete Seeger's banjo. Now, this is the moment to tell that story. Pete Seeger is the one who invented the long neck banjo, and it was most banjos are this length right there. And Pete wanted more, and the problem is that when you only have like 5 frets up here, he wanted to play in different tunes, and so he would, and he had a special. Let's see what I'm going to play here. He had a special song he wanted to play, and in C minor. That was what I just did, played in C minor with a dropped C. But it was too high for him to sing. So he said, boy, it'd be great if I had 2 more frets. So he took the banjo he had, a regular banjo, a White Lady, and down to Greenwich Village, and to John D'Angelico, very famous jazz guitar maker. He invented the great guitar, electric guitars, the jazz guitars, the F-hole guitars, and then he taught John D'Acquisto, and their guitars are now in museums, both of them. And if you can find one, they're $40,000 or $50,000. It's an amazing guitars. But he had this little shop right down in the village, and Pete went down and said, "Do you think you could give me 2 extra frets?" And so John did. He sawed it off, put a couple of frets in with dowels, and for a while Pete had this banjo with 2 extra frets. And then he lost that. Somebody stole it, and at some point he had a lot of different banjos in that way. And he said, I was really because of his working around boats, he got very interested in the heaviest wood there is, lignum vitae, ironwood. It's so heavy it won't float. And they make certain things out of it, including some of the bow pins to hold it on boats. So he got a chunk of it together, had a friend cut it the right length, and then he spent months and months carving a neck out of lignum vitae. This is Pete, right? And then he tried to put frets on it. It didn't, and it never played in tune. So he took it down again to John D'Angelico, and John gave it to his apprentice, or his mentor at that point, John D'Acquisto, who shaved it off, put a beautiful ebony fingerboard on it, which Pete didn't want an ebony fingerboard, so he was a little. And then he he measured it so that the bridge was way on the edge of the banjo, so it was very bright. And Pete wanted a little more plunky, so he took it back, and he actually, and he did put a different. He took all the frets out, filled them up, and refretted it, and that was the banjo that Pete played until it got too heavy for him, because it was really a heavy banjo. And that's the banjo that Bruce Taylor. That's the banjo that Bruce Taylor copied, but he didn't have lignum vitae, but he did dogwood, which is a very heavy wood, and that's what this is. This is a heavy banjo, and I played his. And I said, "Oh, this is great. Can you make me one?" And he did, and that's what this is. This is a Pete Seeger. So let's think of this song I can do here. How about let's see. Well, here's an interesting song. This is not a Pete Seeger song, but it's about Cy Khan and I together. We're together, and he showed me a New York Times article about an army base that happened during the Iraq War and all the troubles they were having with these poor soldiers who were PTSD. And he showed me this one story, and I said, "You really want to write about that?" He said, "Yes." So that became the story. We'll do this on this one. I grew up hunting in the woods with my father in a little mountain town not far from here. When I turned 6, he gave me my first rifle. I was 8 years old when I killed my first deer. Dad said I had an itchy trigger finger, but we needed meat and he taught me how to aim. He said, if you're gonna kill, then you better do it cleanly, or give it up and never hunt again. Somehow I barely made it through high school. I dreamed about escaping every day. I couldn't see me working at the prison, so I joined the army just to get away. The mountains of Iraq seemed like my hometown. The valleys and the ridges looked the same. I knew that I was born to be a soldier. I figured it was just like hunting game. I saw him in my scope across the valley. I squeezed the trigger slowly and he fell. But in that moment when I saw him stumble, something in my soul crumbled as well. The Bible said it's a sin to murder. I figured that in war it was all right. But always in my dreams I see him falling. His blood soaks my pillow every night. The doctors say that I am post-traumatic. They tell me that with time the mist will clear. They don't understand the things that happen when you cannot tell a person from a deer. Some nights I dream I'm hunting with my father. Some nights I dream they've sent me back to war. Dad said I had an itchy trigger finger, so I cut it off and I will hunt no more. I cut it off and I will kill no more. Hope there weren't too many little ones out there. Listen to that. This is a beautiful, beautiful Pete Seeger copy of that wonderful banjo. And thank you, Bruce Taylor, for this. Now, this one is one that Greg Deering made for me. I think I started playing this tonight. It's called my Moonboat Banjo. If you look up here, I have a song called Moonboat and a record called Moonboat. There's the moon with me in the red shirt and a big sail and a little girl reaching for a star. And Lynn Reiser, who illustrated a bunch of my songbooks, this wonderful illustrator and children's book author, Greg Deering said, "I'll do what you want on the thing." And so he sent me a piece of paper, 3 pieces of paper of the neck, and said, "Just put what you want there. I'll work it out. I got these wonderful things for planets and stuff. I got these new kinds of rock I'd never used before." So she filled it all up, and so I said it to Greg. I said, "This is really cool, but could you but make it so it's playable, so I know where things are, and give it little spaces, And he did. And he actually sent back his drawings of her thing, and she said, "Just make the stars a little bit fatter." He made them kind of thin stars, and so she said, "Make them fatter." So she did, the shooting stars there, up and down, and the whole thing happening here. My moonboat. What song am I going to do here? I'll do this one. I never would have tried this on banjo if I hadn't heard Pete do a bunch of blues things. Sailing up, sailing down on the banjo. So I tried this song that I wrote. My daughter Abigail, I'll never forget, we were at Winfield, Kansas, and we invited Tommy Emmanuel, the amazing guitarist, to come up with us. And he played a thing on this, and we all played it all on guitar with the band, with Michael and John and my boys. And she sang it, just killed it. It was great. It goes like this. When you let your baby down, when you let your baby down, lights go out all over town. When you let your baby down, when she turns and walks away, you watch her turn and walk away, and you think of things you didn't say when she walks away. Ain't it a sad song? A song about days gone by, and how things go wrong. You don't know the reason why, and all the dreams you carry around to keep you safe on the battleground. You watch them die without a sound when you let your baby down. A sad song, a song about you and me, and how things go wrong, and nothing like it's supposed to be, and all the dreams I carry around to keep me safe on the battleground. I watched them die without a sound as the lights go out all over town, and my whole world is upside down since I let you down. Ooh, yeah. Since I let you down. Now, I'm bouncing around here, but here's a song that I heard Bob Gibson do. Now, Bob Gibson, for those of you who are younger, don't know, was one of the great stars of the early folk revival. And I guess I don't have the words, but I know him. And he did a duo thing with Bob Camp, Hamilton Camp, and it was Gibson and Camp at the I forget which club it was. I think, but it was the first million-selling folk record, And he was the one who introduced Joan Baez to Newport, and when she suddenly became, who is this person? And he was an amazing, great singer, really good performer and entertainer. Got into drugs, had some trouble later on, but Harry wrote changes about a verse about him. But he late in his career, and he did a trio thing with Tom Paxton and Ann Hills, and had a long career, and his recordings are wonderful. So he came to the Turning Point, the club in my hometown, and I went down to see him. And went up, in fact, talked to him afterwards and said how great it was. And he said, well, I hear you live here. I don't have a place to stay tonight. And I said, well, you can stay with us. But you got to show me that tune. He said, which tune? I said, that tune, And Loving You. It's such a cool tune you did on the Banjos. Okay, I'll do that. So we did. And after breakfast the next morning, the song he wrote with Tom Paxton wrote, I think, most of the lyrics. But he had this wonderful tune. It goes like this. That cold Chicago wind came howling down the street. The rain has turned to sleet. If I decide to go, it will commence to snow. It's overdue. 'Twas on a night like this you blew in through my door. I asked for kindness and you gave me that and more. You taught me how to do the things that lovers do, like coming through and loving you. I got my banjo too, but now I lost the band. I must have missed a turn. I'll never learn, it seems. My music is my dreams. It's what I do. They close the hall and put away the microphone. I sit alone and idly scratch along the strings, and my banjo sings, as banjos often do, of coming through and loving you. We heard John Lennon play. He sang Norwegian Wood. We thought he'd hung the moon. We slept on your floor. You didn't work till 4 that afternoon. You took a stranger to an unfamiliar shore. For kindness, and you gave him that and more. You taught him how to do the things that lovers do, like coming through and loving you. 'Twas on a night like this you blew in through my door. I asked for kindness and you gave me that and more. You taught me how to do lovers do, like coming through and loving you, like coming through and loving you, like coming through and loving you. Tom Paxton and Bob Gibson and Loving You. What a nice tune that is. Well, I got a wild card here. This is something from the 1930s. Let's see if I can get this over here. It's a Vega guitar banjo. Got 6 strings, neck of a guitar, and a banjo head here. And this is what the jazz players were playing when with the horn players. Instead of playing guitars before electric guitars, they play these guys and just, as rhythm, the rhythm section often was bass, banjo, drums, and piano, and the horn sections. And so this is just a wonderful, it turns out to be a wonderful thing for ragtime. A stegosaurus in the forest munching on some hay lay down to snooze in a bed of ooze and sadly passed away. Her body changed and rearranged as she sank beneath the soil. And over time she turned to slime and then she turned to oil. So she disappears for a jillion years till finally she is found like a buck with a boiling bone with a da-da-da-da. So she disappears for a jillion years till finally she is found by a guy named Bill with a guy named Bill, by a guy named Bill with an oil drill who sucks her from the ground. Bill pipes that poor old dinosaur to an oil refinery where they bubble and boil and change that oil into stuff for you and me. R-E-C-Y-C-L-E. That's the way it's supposed to be. The earth recycles and so do we. R-E-C-Y-C-L-E. So she disappears for a jillion years till finally she is found by a guy named Bill with an oil drill who sucks her from the ground. Bill pipes that poor old dinosaur to an oil refinery where they bubble and boil and change that oil into stuff for you and me. I sang R-E-C-Y-C-L-E. That's the way it's supposed to be. The earth recycles and so do we. R-E-C-Y-C-L-E. That, so there you go. That's the way the system works. Things don't disappear. We turn sand into window glass and roots into root beer. We cut and mine, we refine and make these things and then use them not just once, not just twice, but again and again and again and again and again. And if a dinosaur could see us pouring orange juice this way from a plastic jug we made her, well, this is what she'd say. It took me 80 million years to get to you today. So don't throw that mug, don't throw that jug, don't you throw me away. R-E-C-Y-C-L-E. That's the way it's supposed to be. Hey, I recycle this melody. R-E-C-Y-C-L-E. Use it again. R-E-C-Y-C-L-E. And again. R-E-C-Y-C-L-E. a little different feel for this neck than my usual guitar, but so the song that Cy Khan and I wrote along with Scott Ainsley. It's the story of Mother's Day, and not the kids' version of Mother's Day, but the story of Julia Ward Howe, who and it starts in the Civil War. And I thought, boy, it'd be nice to do it. I had this tempo like, from "Might I in the glory," and I thought it'd be nice to try it on this to make it a little more authentic. So it goes. She wrote the bitter vintage of the grapes of wrath. She coined the lightning's terrible swift sword. Her name was Julia Ward Howe, and the battle hymn she wrote once helped our sons to fight the Civil War. These fighting words that poured out so swiftly from her pen went to the waiting watchfires of Bull Run. From Shiloh to the wilderness to the fields of Gettysburg, in every Union camp her song was sung. But she looked back in sorrow and wished she'd found these words before. May every hymn of battle become a prayer for peace that never sends another soul to war. She had seen too much of killing and the toll that war exacts, and seeking ways to make the carnage cease, Julia called to every woman across this war-torn earth to gather in a Mother's Day for peace. Arise with me, arise, O women who have hearts. Our losses age us far beyond our years. We can no longer justify the cannon's fearsome roar, nor use our nation's flag to dry our tears. Let us look toward tomorrow and work together shore to shore, till every hymn of battle becomes a prayer for peace that never sends another soul to war. For 30 years brave mothers met together every June, then Woodrow Wilson named a holiday that turned this great assembly of women against war into a card and candy chocolate filled cliche. But if we love our mothers, and of course we do, when we celebrate them every month of May, remember Julia Ward Howe and the dream she dreamed that Mother's Day might make war go away. Mother's Day might make war go away. Mine eyes have seen the glory of what this world could be when the sacred goal we're striving for transfigures you and me. When the work that women do for peace shall make all people free as we go marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah, as we go marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. This guy is also it's almost heavy enough. If they attacked me, I could hurt somebody. 1930s, wonderful old guitar banjo. Yes, sir. So those of us who are travelers have to figure out how to bring these instruments. I bring a guitar now and a banjo and an auto harp. And how do you fly with those guys? And when I went to started going to Ireland, we've gone about 6 times now, Michael and myself, and Monica's with us to do some shows over there. They have little cars, and those long neck banjos don't fit in the trunk. You know, it's like, whoa, it hits the wall. So I called up Deering, and I've had several of. I didn't want to bring the old guy, this guy. At that point, it wasn't fixed up. It was just, and it wasn't electrified the right way. So I didn't want to bring that. So Deering made me a banjo. A guy named Larry Hill out in Phoenix made me a banjo too, which sounded great, but I didn't love. And then Deering made me a couple. And this is one that I've been using recently. And it's called the Senator. And it's quite light, which is nice, and sounds great, and electrifies great. And so if I'm driving, and if it's a gig that's driving, I always take one of the big guys. And haven't taken the Harry one live, but I usually take the Moonboat banjo or the Bruce Taylor banjo. But if I'm flying, so far recently, I've been doing this. So let's see, how's our time doing? We're already an hour in. I'm gonna do about 3 more songs. So if you guys hunker down and get ready for it. Let's see. What do I want to do there? Did I throw it away? I did that one. So this is a cool song that we got dogs in this last little run of COVID, big run of COVID, and Coco and Lulu. Lily got Lulu and we got Coco, and this song actually was written before we got them, but it's great fun. Michael and I wrote this. He's not quite as loud as some of the other banjos, but this guy is very sweet. Can we get a dog? Mom said yes. We looked at Dad. I guess might be nice to have a dog around. Let's go pick out a puppy at the pound. Puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound. Might be nice to have a dog around. Puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound, pound, pound. We're picking up a puppy at the pound. What do you want, Mom? I don't care, as long as it doesn't shed its hair. Won't bark at night or dig up the ground. Let's go pick out a puppy at the pound. Puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound. Won't bark at night or dig up the ground. Puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound, pound, pound. We're picking up a puppy at the pound. What do you want, Dad? Not too small, one I can train to come when I call. Kinda smart but not tightly wound. Let's go pick out a puppy at the pound. Puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound. Kinda smart but not tightly wound. Puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound, pound, pound. We're picking up a puppy at the pound. What do you want, kids? We don't care. Let's just get the best one there. The happiest, friendliest dog around. Let's go pick out a puppy at the pound. We saw bulldog, boxer, mastiff, malamute. Dogs so weird and ugly they were cute. We saw bloodhound, coonhound, wolfhound, and Sharpei. Setters and retrievers and one Bichon Frise. barks now and then. When Dad calls, he has to call again. She's the happiest, friendliest dog around, round, round. We got the perfect puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound, the happiest, friendliest dog around. Puppy at the pound, puppy at the pound, 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 pound. We got the perfect puppy at the pound. Puppy at the pound. Well, this has been an eclectic run here. Let me think if I haven't explained anything about some of these banjos. I do want to tell you that speaking of the Walkabout Clearwater chorus, that I'm going to be at the Walkabout Clearwater Coffee House on May 20th, and doing a whole evening of songs. And let's see what I talked about the Pete Seeger long neck and Alex Haslev, the Limelighters, who had that exact same banjo. I remember meeting Alex Haslev, and he was the only one of the Limelighters who was there, but it was a Limelighters concert. We were out in Florence, Oregon, and Michael and John and myself, and Alex Haslev was there. Great to talk to him. I love the Limelighters, and he was talking about how it was astonishing that Harry became such a star because his songs were really folk songs, were ballads, and they got on the radio. He was always astonished by that, which we all were. And he was very pleased to hear that Harry had one of his style banjos with the extra fret up. Let's see. The Deering long neck with Greg Deering, I did that. Yeah. If you have any questions that I haven't covered, I'll look through here and see what you wrote, and I'll be happy to come on that. But now the newest album is Hold Our Ground, and it finishes with a particular song. My friend Sai Khan wrote me and said, I'm making sure that all these songs, I know who wrote what and stuff. He says, would you tell me what your publishing company is? And I said, this is like an email. And I wrote back, The Last Music Company. And he wrote back, oh, I bet there's a good story there. And I wrote back, well, it's not such a great story. It's just that I tried 4 other names and they all were taken. And I finally came up The Last Music Company, and boom, it went through. So there it is. He said, okay. And he sent me this lyric. Where have they gone, these friends that I loved, who over the years meant so much to me? Their faces drift by as I wait by the door of the Last Music Company. And he said, your turn. And so from long distance we wrote this. Where have they gone, these friends that I loved, who over the years meant so much to me? Their faces drift by as I wait by the door of the Last Music Company, hoping and watching for them to appear. I am lost in the sweet mist of memory. Time stands as still as a night with no moon at the Last Music Company. My friends and my family still hold up my heart as each loss brings my world to its knees. And I seek out a refuge in the workshop of song at the Last Music Company. I've worked at this table with many a good friend. We're catching up as we partnered a new melody with a story and rhyme that might make it sometime to to the last music company. There's no distance that love can't erase. In a lifetime of memories, I've carved out a place to remember your voice and the smile on your face at the last music company. Where do we go when we come to the end of the pathway laid out for you and me? May we summon the courage and grace for to face the last music company. There's no distance that love can't erase. In a lifetime of memories, I've carved out a place to remember your voice and the smile on your face at the last music company. Where have they gone, these friends that I loved, who over the years meant so much to me? I'll remember your voice and the smile on your face at the last music company. The last music company. Thank you, friends. Thanks so much for following along with me as we've done this. And hope to see you all live soon. Check out the website and be well, and God bless you all, and onward and upward. Thanks, friends. Good night.